Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
What are you laughing at my salam for?
No, it's not your salam. I'm just laughing at. I'm continuously waiting to start, and I never know when it starts. So it's always interesting. We haven't done this for a while, so we need to get used to it again.
No problem. I'm used to the idea of starting anytime, anywhere you want to start. Just put a camera on and say, go.
You become alive with cameras. Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Happy autumn.
Happy Monday, every day actually.
Happy everything.
Actually, it's a
happy
glorious
weather.
day.
It's nice. It's lovely. And
I've
as
been
you
making
can
lots
see,
of dua
for the rain or
for the good weather.
for good weather, yes. So good morning, everybody. Welcome. My name is Henrietta Savati, and I am a co-founder of the Barefoot Institute.
I think most people have forgotten who we are. Have you forgotten who we are?
We haven't been around yet.
We haven't done any show for about over a month now. For I think an entire 6 weeks period, we didn't do anything.
Holiday.
Because kids were around, brothers and sisters. We had so much to do, and we had so little time on our hand. We just had to do everything else. Kids come first. Their holidays. We did a bit of a tour of Scotland actually. We went to Wales. That was good. We went to, where did we go? Ullapool, Inverness, Perth, Aberdeen, Edinburgh. The only place we didn't go is Glasgow. But hey, going to Glasgow next time, inshallah. If you are a Glaswegian, please forgive us. We didn't come to your city. But I've been there many, many times. And my dear wife, she went somewhere else.
I went south, so I managed to go to my favorite land. I was in Andalusia for a week.
Andalusia is not a different country. You went to Spain. Go and tell them the truth.
I went to Spain. I did go to Spain, and I spent 4 days in my beloved Ronda, where we used to live. And I went to Granada for 2 days. And I had the privilege to spend almost an entire day in the Alhambra Palace, which was wonderful because I almost had it to myself. We had a very quiet couple of days, not many visitors yet, so it was really wonderful. It was a privilege.
How did you have it to yourself? Did you
Well, not to myself, but we had a very small group. I didn't have to, fight and squeeze for space like usually. Alhambra is very, very busy. And then I came to the coast, and I spent a couple of days with a very good friend of mine in a wonderful little village, mountain village. So this was my holiday.
Very good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, whatever you did in the summer holidays,
let us know, by the way,
yes,
who is watching.
Share.
We don't
I
know.
think a few people are watching. I've not checked who has spoken. I can obviously check who has spoken. No, nobody has spoken. What happened to our usual people? Say salam to us, tell us what you did. Don't be upset and angry with us for not being here. Even if you are upset and angry, just tell us about it. Barefoot, of course, Barefoot Marriage Show is live again. We will do our best to be here every Sunday. Not sure if it will be every Sunday, but we will do our best as we do. Today we're talking about renew your marriage. Somebody has already asked me a question. Is it halal to renew your marriage contract? I never said contract. I don't know why you read that. Is it halal to renew your marriage? Of course it is extremely halal to renew your marriage. It's about saying to your husband and your wife, or your wife saying, I love you, I want to be with you. That's what it means. But it's more than that, right, Hannah?
Of course, of course. So today we really wanted to talk about something that goes along with the seasons. And as you know, September is here. I can't say the weather is changing because it has been really crazy for the entire of August. So I'm not saying the weather is changing into August, into autumn. We already had autumn weather in August, but what we wanted
we have summer in autumn.
In December and
in autumn.
Yes, so it's a really crazy time. So we thought we'd do something along the lines of renewal, recalibrating, resetting, reshuffling relationships, because we believe that this is what keeps marriages alive.
Yes.
It's really easy to go into stale and stable and secure and predictable, and it's boring, and I don't want to do this anymore, and I don't even know why I'm even married in the first place. So we need to really keep, and we believe this at Barefoot, is that this is the only way to keep a marriage alive, is to have continuous conversations, continuously rejuggle and reshuffle where your relationship is. Just like you would change your wardrobe according to the season, just like you would change some of the beliefs that you don't no longer hold, you need to look at your relationships with a fresh perspective from time to time. You need to give it time. So this is what we wanted to bring in today. Assalamu alaikum, those of you who are here, Najmul, I think it's someone Begum. Forgive me if I don't remember
Razmin, oh sorry, SH Begum. Wa alaikum assalam. Razmin says, Assalamu alaikum. I've forwarded to many, but they all getting confused with the
Christian version of renewal. We didn't think that this is going to create such a conversation,
It's
but
okay.
it's wonderful.
No, it's okay.
Great.
Confusion is good. We can clarify.
Yeah, confusion is better than not having a conversation. So great. So let's talk about what kind of renewal we are talking about.
We're talking about marriage being stale. Are you bored in your marriage? Is your marriage boring? Is your marriage so stale that you cannot even be bothered to get out of your bed anymore? Are you looking at your husband or your wife and thinking, oh my God, it's the same old face, it's the same boring person I've seen for the last 50 years, 20 years, 30 years. I can't do this anymore. Are you feeling really exhausted of repeating the same thing? We're talking about that. We're talking about recharging your marriage. We're talking about resetting your marriage. We're talking about realigning your marriage. We're talking about finding new ways, new modus operandi. In other words, reasons to be in marriage. Why am I married anymore? We're talking about all of those things. So if you think renewing your marriage is the Christian concept, wake up and smell the coffee, the halal coffee. I don't think there is halal coffee. But anyway, do suggest to you all to evaluate your marriage and suggest to yourself, consider renewing your marriage by looking at your marriage and saying, is my marriage very boring? That's the question. How boring is your marriage?
On a scale of 1 to 10.
1 to 5.
1 to 5. How boring is your marriage?
That's a good question. Nobody will ever come to know about this answer. All you do is type on the screen and I'll read it out. How boring is your marriage? 1 to 5.
And everybody will know if they type it out.
Well, I'm telling them. Lakdar Koli says Salamu Alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Farah Yatali says Salamu Alaikum.
Salam Farah.
Reese B said Salam from Twin Mummy. Lovely to see you both on my screen again.
Oh, thank you so much. Lovely to have you with us today.
So go on, everybody. Give us your rating. 1 to 5. How boring is your marriage? 1 is very boring. No, least boring.
Unbearable. Maybe unbearably boring.
No, the other way around. 1 is least boring. 5 is most boring. Let's do it.
I would go the other way around. How exciting is your marriage? 1 is really, really...
No, but we're not asking that question. I said, well, how boring is your marriage? So it should be the other way around. 1 is least boring and 5 is most boring. 1 to 5. If your marriage is very, 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 very boring, it's 1. If your marriage is very, 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 very exciting, it's 5. 1 to 5. Come on, guys. Give us a score. Don't tell your husband or your wife that you're doing this scoring. Otherwise, you'll be in big trouble. Actually, you can have a conversation and ask yourself, how boring is our relationship? Have we been doing the same thing again and again? Eating the same old food, staring at the same old ceiling, looking at the same old face, going out on the same old walk.
Having the same old food. Predictable holidays, predictable days, predictable weeks.
Abu Zafar says Salamu Alaikum to both of you, both of you. Well, I think that was a spelling mistake. But ladies and gentlemen,
I hope, or maybe he wants us off the camera. So.
Because we've asked. Nasima Khatun says Salamu Alaikum. 5. Very exciting. Well done, Nasima.
Wow.
I like that. Abu Zafar says, what if one is single? How do we answer them? Oh, if you're single, this show is only for you to watch, not take part. Because you're not married, you won't be able to predict or give a score.
But you can always take some tips with you.
Of
so
course.
When you get married, there will be some stuff that you can take away from the oldies and the wise old people who have been married for 20 years. And those on the screen,
Excuse me, I'm not old yet.
You're not old, great. So those of us who are old, we can we are very happy to share whatever we know of marriage, and of course other people who have been married for much longer than us. We had somebody who've been married for 45 years the other day.
Have.
A couple of months ago we were doing a show. So there's a lot of wisdom here, which is why we are doing this show, to share, to keep going with the conversation, keep the relationship alive.
It looks like Nasima is the only
alive.
brave one to answer it.
It looks like Nasima is the only
What about the rest
one.
of you? Come on, brothers and sisters. Don't be scared. Score your marriage. 1 to 5. 1 is very boring. 5 is very exciting. Nasima Khatun says,
The exciting part was to teach my husband how to cook. Excellent, love it.
has he, and you're still alive to have tasted his food, right? Nasima
Brilliant.
Khatun.
But this is actually really interesting because you see sometimes
I taught you how to cook.
you didn't teach me how to cook. You terrified me before I got married, and I had to learn how to cook. You never stood next to me teaching me how to cook. I
did.
learned it from other sources.
No, I inspired you to cook.
No, you didn't. You just terrified me. So those of you who don't know the story, before I was getting married, you need to know about me. I am a European. Food for us is not 7 dishes of curries and four different dishes of bortas and buzzies or whatever else. So when I was getting married, somebody came to me and she said, well, good luck. Masroor is one of the best cook amongst the families, amongst the friends. And I was terrified. Literally, I was terrified. I didn't know how to entertain the idea of cooking 6-7 dishes a day, and I still don't actually, because I don't agree with it as a start.
You've never cooked 6-7 dishes in my entire 20 years.
No, at the beginning I used to cook three
no,
dishes.
1, 2
yes.
is always the case.
No, 3 dishes.
You've
There has to
forgotten.
be a dal, there had to be a curry, there had to be rice, there had
We
to be a
don't eat
buzzy.
rice and curry every day.
No, every day, no, because
go.
I can't do the 7 dishes.
Sajid Rahman says, Rangers, but today is 4.
Today is 4, excellent.
Like that. And then Lakdar Kohli says, Sheikh, please help me. I want to help to start a pairing app, not a dating app, to help the Algerian girls and boys to get married. I'm so sorry, Lakdar, I can't help you because I'm not an app specialist. Lakdar Kohli, however, scored his relationship 3. Not very exciting.
Great. Shireen, 4, and Assalamu alaikum to you
Wa
as well.
alaikum salam.
Thank you to be here. Najmul Kamal Islam is 2.
Oh, Najmul, we need to talk.
Okay.
To write us right on the screen, why is it 2?
Okay.
Can you do that?
Let's see if we can get an answer. So let's start having a conversation. What makes a relationship interesting, exciting, vibrant, lively? Because I think it's a really important conversation that we are not having in our community.
Do you know what makes me excited about a relationship? Is if I have intellectual connection with my wife. I find that exciting. It's not stale for me. If intellectual connection disappeared, that would be the death nail for me for a relationship. I have to be able to discuss, debate, see eye to eye on intellectual issues, as well as I need to see my wife grow intellectually, not physically, but intellectually. I want to see her.
You just had to put that in, didn't you?
Why not? Just like my wife wouldn't like to see me grow physically. Intellectual growth is very important for me, and that makes it exciting. You're giggling away.
Well, yes, I agree that growth shouldn't be sideways. It should be
head.
in a different way, of
the
course.
head should grow. Not head this way, but
no, but this is actually, it makes me think. We have, quite often we have people who say that, look, we have an amazing physical connection. Physical relationship is wonderful. We don't connect on spiritual or emotional level or intellectual level. What do we do? How do we rejuggle? And I think it's a very valid question, because for a long number of years you can actually survive on that physical connection, even though intellectually you are not 100% connected. But what happens when you start getting old? What happens when you age? What happens when life starts changing? What happens when an illness comes in, a sickness comes in, kids come in? You know, what do you do then when physical relationship is no longer the only anchor between you two? So I think it's an important question. But
what makes you excited?
Oh, I love. I think intellectual stimulation is very important to me as well. I wouldn't be able to sustain a marriage if we could, and I do get bored sometimes when all we think about is work or kids, or I just don't thrive. I don't feel connected at all. So for me, intellectual connection has always been more important than anything else. If I'm not stimulated intellectually, I would not survive.
Shireen Alankar says, now the children have grown up, we have more time for each other. If we are together 24/7, you don't have much to talk about, as you have done everything together.
Yeah, very good point, actually. That's the other side of the spectrum. Like, instead of being together all the time physically, now you have all the time to be together, but you are older, you are more mature, your children, the empty nest is there, so you are empty nesters. But this is also a great opportunity to redesign how you want to live together from this point on, because you don't have to carry on what you have done for 27 years. Now that there is a new platform, there's a new canvas, what is it that you want? What is it you want individually, and what is it that you want collectively? Because the really important part of this conversation is there is a time when we need to look at what is an individual happiness, an individual contentment and excitement for ourselves, and what is it that we want to create collectively. And I think your question really is about that. How do we continue our lives with different lens?
Together, of course. Then we have Aisha Khanum said, 2, my husband needs counseling on marriage. Can you help? Of course we can.
Absolutely.
Info
Get in touch with us, and we will give you a call, and we will discuss what we can do.
info@barefootinstitute.com. Get in touch, like Anna said. info@barefootinstitute.com. And then Waqas Mir said, I am sharing this live video with our Muslim Fathers group in Norway.
MashaAllah.
And by the way, you were amazing last time you were here. We need to be reminded of the reason why we all get married. Keep it up. Keep it up.
You too.
Thank you. Waqas, if you want to organize a seminar or a program, we're very happy to come over. We've got books that we can promote and launch in Norway.
We had a great time in Norway when we
had a fantastic time.
It was a really good time.
Give us an email, info@barefootinstitute.com. Let's talk about coming over to Norway, launch my book on marriage and Hannah's book on being heart smart, and we could do maybe a few seminars in different cities if that's what you want. You could bring the fathers group and mothers group and sisters group and brothers group, everybody together, mosques and community organizations. That would be a very good thing to do. Norway is a nice country. Shireen Alankar continues, we've been married 36 years,
Wow.
but this year, and I still find him attractive. He is my rock, but
Brilliant.
I need some time for me. I think you're absolutely right.
35 years,
36
years, mashallah. That's half a life. More than half a life for some people, by the way.
Indeed, more than half a life for both of us. We're not that old.
No, we're not at all.
Alhamdulillah. Rajan Ali says, personally, my wife and I find it very beneficial each year having time apart when my wife and kids visit and stay in the in-law side, while it gives a bit of time away from each other. Nayor, which means going to the other side, is wonderful thing, makes the heart grow fonder. The Bengali word nayor means when the bride, the wife, goes back to her parents' house and stays there for a longer period.
There is such a thing?
There is a term for it. It's agreed upon by the families that the girl will have the right to stay for a longer period with her families. It's called nayor, they call it. And the girl would go there and stay for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, whatever she wants, whatever is agreed upon. And it's a very good way. It's a traditional way. As long as the cultural expectations are reduced and it's just done for the real merit of it, which is to give the couple a space, it's wonderful. It's really good. It enables that space. And
I
that's
think I will take up this Bengali tradition and just go away.
But Hannah, you're living on Nair every day. I'm away every week for 3 days.
Well, that's another reality. That's not really Nayor for me, to be honest.
Well, that's work commitment, brothers and sisters. But really, how do you renew your commitment and marriage again? So the first question first is ask yourself, why is my marriage so stale? A lot of people come and ask me that question, why is my marriage so stale? We have forgotten the Quranic advice. Quran says you need to review and renew as well as evaluate your marriage regularly. In the Quran, Allah says that in the verse of marriage. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُم مَّوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. There are signs in this, those who reflect. In other words, those who reflect on their marriage, they can take from the marriage signs of what's working, what's not working, how to improve, how to do things differently. Evaluate your marriage right now. Give it a score in the boring spectrum. 5 being most boring and 1 being least boring.
No. So why did we congratulate someone who said 5?
No, I didn't. No, we didn't, did we?
Yeah. So I think it's confusing. Anyway, tell us what boring is for you.
Yes.
And what makes it boring. And
No,
give us
I think I was clear. 1 is least boring,
Right.
5 is most boring.
So someone who said 5, that's just amazing.
I think they may have misunderstood my scoring and I have misunderstood their scoring.
Okay. So what makes your marriage boring, and what is your personal responsibility in that marriage going boring?
Yes.
Because
Why?
I think it's 2 ways.
Why is your marriage boring? Who is responsible? Whose fault is it? Well, we don't want to really say whose fault it is, but we really want to. So, an example. If I was just sitting there and eating and eating and eating, becoming fatter and fatter by the day and not looking after myself and being very negligent of my health, that would be firstly boring. People will not feel sorry for me. They'll just think, how silly. Eventually, it will become a problem for everybody else because they will have to attend to my needs. It's very selfish of me. because I brought myself to sickness. And thirdly, I would have brought to this marriage this real resignation. I don't even care about this marriage anymore. I have resigned. That's not nice. So I would be responsible if I behaved like that. When it comes to money, if I spend all my money myself, if I went on holidays on my own and not to take my family, if I became very selfish and self-centered, I'll be contributing to the boredom of this marriage. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. But I also think people get into bored. So think about it this way: we spend the majority of our time together when we are married, right? So inevitably, marriage is by default, I think, is boring. It can be very boring. But what, as an institution, thinking about bringing up the children, doing the same thing, school runs or education or feeding the families or shopping or entertaining guests and families and friends and all of those things, because we keep doing it over and over again, the very nature of it is that it can become really boring. But what makes a difference is that how much life we give to those things, how much more aliveness we have, how alive do you feel when you are doing those things. And I think that's the question that not many people ask. They blame the other, oh, you are so boring, or work is so boring, or life is so boring. But actually, there's very little life in us to enjoy any of those things that is right in front of us. So I think this is where personal responsibility is really important. But at the same time, looking at each other and say, look, what you are doing or what I'm doing just doesn't have enough life in it. So how do we shift that? How do we change that? Because nothing is what it is. Thinking makes it what it is. And I think everything has two sides. Of course, there's two sides of the coin. One side is there are good things and really exciting things about any relationship, and there are some really boring things and mundane things that we have to go through. So we need the mundane to be able to be alive, but we also need the aliveness to bring life to anything we do, whether it's a relationship or anything we do.
What would be the most boring thing in your relationship if it was to happen? In our marriage, what would you find very boring?
I think it would be if we just talk about the things that needs to be doing.
Functional. So
logistics, it really pushes me over the edge. Logistics, I cannot deal with. That's the only conversation we are having when we are old and sitting on the sofa, which I don't think will ever happen, hopefully, because you just don't sit on the sofa for more than 5 minutes. But if that's the thing we will be talking about, I would go probably mental.
Okay. Well,
talk about logistics. But what about you?
Rasmin says last year was very testing. Why was it testing, Rasmin? May Allah make it easy for you. But share with us what you've learned and how have you come over or overcome. I know you bought 2 cats, but that probably wasn't the solution. That was something that you wanted to do. I know Rasmin, alhamdulillah, they attended our program. Shireen Alankar says, I think this COVID period has made people have to learn to live with each other all over again. That's very true.
Yeah.
COVID has pushed you all in one room, in one house for 24/7. For 18 months, we couldn't get out. And we had to really learn to live with one another in a very different way than we had done before. Rajan Ali says, having children has made it difficult as it limits my partner and I to do things we used to do prior to children. For us, it is child-focused, so we don't spend much time together. That's a very, very important thing. Couples, when they don't spend together the couple time, they're too focused on their children or functional time that my wife has just mentioned. The marriage can have a very detrimental turn if you do not have quality time with your wife or your husband. I always say to people who are very busy, put a time on your diary if that's what you're doing. If you're very busy, put it on your diary so that you can actually have some time together. Even if you don't have it on your diary, but you have a subliminal understanding of how you're going to spend a bit of quality time together, it will enhance your relationship beyond description. So I would recommend to all of you to really take up this challenge. And if you've got children or other commitments in life, even work, put a date in your diary on a regular basis.
There's a really interesting story I wanted to share with you. We had a friend of ours who, we have seen actually a couple of people doing this, that once you have children, especially young children, after a certain period of time, you start calling each other mommy and daddy. So you speak through the children and you say to the children, oh, mommy is going to sort this out for you. Instead of having a direct communication, this is an impact of what it means when you are so solely focusing on bringing up the children that you forget. It's an identity crisis, I call it. You forget your identity, that yes, your role is being a mother and a father, but it's not an identity that can play out in your relationship. So when you start calling each other mommy and daddy, you forgot the names of the name of the person who's in front of you. Therefore, you forgot the identity. You detach from that identity. So your wife is no longer a wife, and your husband is no longer a husband, but a mommy and a daddy. These are two very different spheres where we operate. I'm a different person, but I'm a mother. I'm a very different person, but I'm a wife. I'm different when I'm with my own mother as a daughter, or as a daughter-in-law, or with friends. There are things that should not be meshed together, because then we have an identity loss. And this is really important I believe, in a relationship, because I don't want to be called a mother by my husband.
Why would you? And I would, if my wife was to say, call me daddy, that's not right. I think that's ethically not correct. So keeping your relationship focused on your relationship between the two of you. I say to my children, my wife and I existed before you came into the scene. So please don't overstep your mark and try and come into our space. That's our space. You are our children, the most important gift Allah has given us. You will remain with us, inshallah, for the rest of our life. You have a space too. We all have to create a third space. We will all interact, but our individual space must be respected. So are your children a reason why you're no longer spending good quality time? Are your work commitment coming in your way of compromising on your way, and it's compromising your quality time as a couple? How do you renew that? By constant reflection and evaluation of your marriage. We've had a few more points. For example, somebody just wrote, I missed it.
Quite a lot of comments.
Nasima Khatun says, we also have time away from each other, give each other space, and do things we enjoy by ourselves. Having that independence is important. Nushaila said, this is so true.
I love your name, by the way. It sounds amazing.
MashaAllah. And wow, she said, Rajan Ali said, thank you. We'll invest in improving managing our time to allocate time together. In the past COVID period, where people have learned to be closer to one another, I've also witnessed 8 divorces. What could be the reason? Is that those marriages didn't have the groundwork in place? Did they not have the right reasons to be with one another? Half of those have children, by the way. Uqas is a very important point you've raised, and my heart goes out to those families who are broken up. But some people can't cope with too much closeness. They can't cope with intimacy. And COVID time has pushed them together more often, and they saw each other more often, and they couldn't cope with that intimacy, that proximity, that closeness. They don't know how to manage that space, and so they decided to be divorced. Every marriage could have been saved had they sought help and support. But there are maybe other reasons. Any other reasons that you can think of?
I think there is also, for me, the really important part that COVID has highlighted is that there is an intensity of every relationship has a heat. I call it every relationship has a temperature. And you need to know the temperature. You need to know how to handle the temperature. You need to know yourself, whether you are capable of handling that kind of temperature, or you have to go, or you work through your differences so the temperature doesn't burn the relationship. Because the intensity, and you know, we know quite a few people, high achievers, for example. We have a lot of corporate clients who are very intense at work, but they tend to bring that intensity to the home, and they are so intense that their spouse doesn't know how to cope with it.
I had one only a few days ago where the husband is a lawyer. He speaks to his wife as if he's in court. Poor soul. She's devastated. And she, on the other hand, is a psychologist. So she treats him as a client. He says, I don't want to be your client. And she said, I don't want to be your client either. Both clients. You really have to leave that out and try and bring home the calmness and serenity that you're craving for. But when you were talking about the heat in the relationship, I was thinking about moth and fire. Fire is burning, moth jumps in thinking it's very attractive, and it gets burnt. So what we have to do is shield our relationship from the fire burning it. How do we shield it? What protection can we create? We need the fire to keep ourselves warm, to cook our food. Every relationship needs the fire, but we also need to have the shield around it, the protective barriers around it, so that our children, our own selves, our parents, our families don't fall in it and burn.
And it doesn't go out of control.
Yes.
Because it can spread, and intensity can spread in a negative way.
It can destroy you
and the children, because the children are taking that pattern into their own relationship. So there really is a very interesting thing for me.
You know, when you're cooking on and the frying pan catches fire, immediately underneath the frying pan there is fire. That's what is needed to cook. But if it catches fire on top, some chefs would create that fire to burn off some of the cooked material, but that's controlled. But when it's uncontrolled, it can be a danger, and majority of the house fires are caused by chip pan burning and catching fire while cooking. So while you are burning your relationship fire, you need to know how to control the temperature, how to contain it in a space, how to take benefit from it and not get burnt up with it or out of it. Very important analogy, brothers and sisters. The way to renew your marriage is to keep that focus. If the energy is gone, then marriage is gone. But if energy is uncontrolled, the marriage is destroyed.
So maybe sometimes you need to think about, where do I need to put up the heat and where do I need to take it off a little bit? Because maybe some areas are really heated, heavy, intense, difficult, demanding, whatever it is. Other areas are completely cold or there's no heat. I need to put up the heat a little bit here. I need to push down the heat somewhere else. I think it's a fantastic way of looking at where your heat is. How do you handle different kinds of heat that's coming from your spouse? Because you see, let's face it, COVID intensified everything. The period when we were living together, everything was intensified. The boredom was intensified. The danger, imminent danger of death and losing family members, that was intensified. Being together in the same physical space, everything just got intensified. So managing that and learning how to do it, I think it's a great skill to take over to your relationship. Like, where do I need to play with the fire a little bit?
Let me go a bit further. When we want to have heating in our house, we use hot water. But hot water has to go through a coil in a boiler in order for it to have enough heated water that can distribute itself across the house. When you do underfloor heating, it's the same pipe constantly going back and forth, so we call it the coil effect, under your floor, with lots and lots of hot water enveloping the entire floor space, giving you nice and comfortable heat. So the coiling effect around the relationship is what you need in order for you to have a sustainable, a strong and powerful and an exciting relationship. A coiling effect. So how do you create? Allah actually uses the word libas, which is the garment analogy. It's even far better than the coiling one, because it drapes you while keeping enough space and air inside your draped clothes. It's individual fabrics being pulled together, weaved together, cut to shape, stitched and measured to your body. This is what happens in a marriage. How do you adjust to one another, become the libas, the draped garment of one another? How do you do that? In order to do that, you need to invest in your relationship, identify where the gaps are. So for example, if one side of my shirt is loose and hanging out, it's misshaped. I'll take it to a tailor. If my trousers too long, I'll go and get it cut. It's inevitable that you need to make adjustments. And in order to stay excited, you need to be prepared to make that adjustment. And I think a lot of people find it difficult to make that adjustment. They think, oh my God, I'm married now. I'm with my wife or my husband. I see them every day. That's my marriage. That should be exciting enough.
And then you accept things that you should never accept. You accept the status quo and you do the things that are either out of alignment or out of your value system, or you do the things that you feel like I have no way to change this because this is my partner and I can't change. He's not going to change or she's not going to change. So it's a helpless way of looking at it. And the minute you get into this helplessness that I am not willing to change, but I want to change something, that's a helpless state. You will not be able to get out. Yeah. And we know this from people, too headstrong. We are one of those people. Let's just face it. When we got married, it was all about, I knew exactly what I wanted. My husband knew exactly what he wanted. And it takes time to learn how to give up on certain things. But most importantly, it takes willingness to change. I think it's not willingness to change for the sake of pleasing somebody. It's the willingness to change because you want to make a relationship work.
Absolutely spot on. Shireen Alankar says, Alankar means jewelry, by the way,
Oh, nice.
in Bengali. As we get older and entrenched in our ways, I think we have to know each other, but use the fire in the right way. And compromise is a word that's often forgotten. And the fact you sometimes have to learn to disagree but stay friends. Respect is two-way street. Absolutely. That reminds me of how we use fire to mold. You know, you can mold iron by heating it up. You can melt gold by putting it in fire. You can even bend.
You can make glass.
You can make glass from fire. You can even bend a piece of wood to give it a shape of your choice. Everything can be molded by fire. The heat of your relationship, not hot air, the heat of your relationship, the fire in your relationship, if it's controlled, managed, and if it's in proportion, you can mold a relationship beautifully. What is the heat of your relationship like? Just think about it. Is the gas completely gone? Can you fill it up? Can you keep the control in a measurable and a nice way? Can it be simmering away? What would you like?
Or is it a wildfire?
Is it a wildfire burning everybody?
Like what we had in Europe, didn't we?
Well, it happens in many relationships. They get married out of wild, lustful, animalistic excitement and buzz that they feel will remain for the rest of their life. But after 6 months, when it disappears, they realize, oops, what have I done? That cold turkey feeling, it's an awful feeling for a lot of people. And I tell you, brothers and sisters, you don't want to get there. It's awful. I prefer a slow burning fire that sustains a relationship, keeps it nice and warm and comfortable, but you do things together, exciting. I like activities when we go on holiday, for example. I feel that is an energy that I gain from a collective effort with my family. I know you like some activities, you like some leisure time. Kids are flexible. So knowing that when we are out there together, how to keep our fire going, knowing what works for the other person, knowing what works for my wife, what works for me, what works for the kids. All of those adjustments is so important.
It's really interesting actually, because this summer we were climbing Snowdon for the first time. And it was a very different experience for all four of us. And there was very little preparation we could do. I mean, there's a basic level of fitness or lack of fitness from some of our parts. I'm not going to call names. But we were doing it, and the way we went through the whole experience really showed who we are as people in those 6 hours while we were doing it. Because, you know, as you do and you are being stretched more and more, you fall back onto your natural state. And my natural state was, I need to drink and eat continuously while I'm on a hike, because otherwise I go completely crazy. And my husband was continuously saying, come on, let's go, let's get on with it. And he was almost, you know, pestering us like, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. So he was the faster one, I was the slower one, and the kids just somehow managed in between. But I think it's a great metaphor of what you do in a relationship. Is not that you are going to change somebody, or you are going to hope that I'm married, therefore I'm going to go and change. It's about how do you work with what you have? How do you create? And to be honest, I often think about the word compromise. I don't like the word compromise. I like collaborate, because compromise to me is always a little bit of giving up of something that is important to me. So okay, I just give up on this, and then you give up on something else, and you give up on something else until you no longer know what you want or who you are. Collaboration is to say, this is what works for me. What works for you is completely opposite. Let's find a third way. Let's find something where I don't need to feel like I have given up a part of me. You don't need to feel like you've given up on anything, but we create something that works for both of us. I think that's harder. It takes longer. It takes stamina to get to that place, but you don't feel that a part of you is died out.
I like that. Very good point. And I think maybe we should use the word collaborate more often. Waqas is still sharing with us his amazing thoughts. I hosted lots of radio shows on relationship and saw myself as an expert until I got married. What can you suggest others who are newly married of the surprises that await them? And myself married for 12 years, alhamdulillah. Fantastic, Waqas. Thank you for that really good insight as well. Many of us think we're experts until we get married and we realize, oops, we don't know anything about marriage. It is the truth, actually the truth, that we have to make a huge adjustment and a collaborative platform for marriage. What can we suggest for those who are newly married? Well, first thing first, prepare for your marriage, brothers and sisters. Here comes me pitching my book again. And I don't do this because, wallahi, I don't do this because I think I want to sell a lot of books. If you buy it, it's alhamdulillah, it's good. If you don't, then that's your choice. Please buy a book on marriage. I've got this one called 10 Steps to Getting Married and Staying Married. Buy this book even if you're married. Buy this book if you haven't been married, you're thinking about it, or you're even divorced. It will change the way you think about marriage. Many people have given us feedback. And alhamdulillah, so far the feedback has been amazing. It's been pretty intense in terms of putting the book together. It's out there. It's on our website. Our website is www.barefootinstitute.com. Go there, ask if you need any help and support. We do counseling, we do coaching, we do mediation, we do marriages, we do nikah if you want. And of course, we also offer programs if one-to-one premarital programs are needed and marital courses are needed. So go to our website and buy our book, or Hannah's book, Heart Smart, is available as well for you to buy. Do you want to say anything about your Heart Smart book?
Well, my book is the book that will turn your own life around. It's not about relationships, but it's everything to do with how you run a relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's to do with your marital relationship. I wrote this because I was really struggling myself. I wrote it primarily for myself. I had no other intention except understanding my head and my heart, and I studied neuroscience, so I just really wanted to know and make sense of my own life, which is what I did. And I think for me, the important part of relationship when you are newlywed, in fact, however number of years you are married, the idea that we need to know everything about relationship is false, and it's very difficult to be with, because believe me, before my kids were born, I read every single book. But what happened when my first child came out, I was looking at her and I had no clue what to do, because it's one thing to read, and reading is wonderful. I think reading is the preparation. Without preparing for a relationship, just like you don't go to for a job interview without preparing. You put your documents together, you mentally prepare, and that's why books are really great to prepare. Read about other people's experiences, get the preparation done, and once you are there, keep your relationship as an evolving entity, and keep it at the forefront of your mind that every week, just like for work, just like for anything else, you will have to put in some things. You will have to put some work in. You have to pay attention. Are things working? What's working? What's not working? It's a continuously molding. It's a process that I like doing every week. I sit every week and say what works, what doesn't work, what do I need to change? Just like I change my shoes if it's dirty, or I change my clothes.
I hope you don't change your shoes every week. It will be a very expensive proposition.
No, I mean is, you wear different kinds of shoes for different kind of weather.
I'm saying something very important at the back of this.
You don't buy a new pair of shoes, you don't change your spouse.
Every week because it's not working. Don't do that. You have to obviously make adjustments. Shireen Akhtar said, very good point, Henrietta. Compromise is a sign of giving in or not getting your point across, but collaboration is the right word. It means that there is consideration in your team. There is no I in the word team. Together you can collaborate, absolutely. However, there is an element of ego in not wanting to, and I don't mean to be dismissing of what you have said. Compromise, while it may sound pretty negative to some people, the Arabic word is islah. فَأَصْلِحُوا, Allah says in the Quran. Islah actually means reconcile rather than compromise. Reconcile means be prepared to give up your differences. Be prepared to forgive one another for the mistakes, the hurt, the harm that you may have caused. Be prepared to forgive the other person. Be prepared to renew your contract or your relationship and learn new things and make that adjustment. That's what Islah really means.
But it's not compromise.
It's not compromise, I know. So one word, compromise, doesn't encompass the Islamic meaning contained in the word Islah. So it may be compromise and collaborate. Because by giving up certain elements of what is so dear to you, you are making the other person more dear to you. because you're willing to give up something that is so important. And this is what Allah says in the Quran. And give what you like in charity, what you like most in charity. Actually give up that which you like most to people who need it most. Because by giving up, you embrace humility and you give the signal to the other person, actually you're willing to get down to whatever point or level they are in life, and you're willing to walk with them. So I do like the word compromise, but not on its own. I think I'm going to put compromise and collaborate. And better word for me in Islam is islah, which means reconcile, but even that one word is not enough. Does that do the job?
Yes and no. I think there is an element of that we need to talk about when it comes to compromise in relationships. Is I think people give up things often not consciously. So, I just do it this time, or I give up on something and on an important value. So, for example, if a husband is continuously abusing the wife, verbally or whichever way, or doesn't contribute, or wives don't contribute to what was the expectation to the relationship, after a while you keep compromising, and say, okay, I just let it go this time. Eventually you will get to a point where it's a non-revocable relationship. You can no longer function in that relationship because, first of all, you don't know who you are anymore. Second of all, you have given so many allowances that you just can't stand.
But you did not compromise. You became a doormat. There's a big difference.
Well, that's why I have a problem with the word compromise.
I'll tell you why I don't. Because you need to know what you can compromise on. So your relationship must have some absolutes, the non-negotiables. You don't compromise on them ever. If you give up on your non-negotiables, that's not compromising. That's you're sacrificing your principles. Never sacrifice your principles. But negotiables are the ones that you compromise often and more. Non-negotiables, don't compromise. So if we can get the clarity between the two, non-negotiables and negotiables, compromise becomes easier. Those who compromise or those who give up on their non-negotiables become doormats. And people take advantage of them. Unfortunately, some people even abuse them. And it's so wrong. Abuse is wrong. But I would say to you, stick to your gun when it comes to non-negotiables. I'll give you an example. The other day, a brother told me that he got married to a lady, and he told her that I'm the only son in the family. And I have no intention of leaving my parents ever. If you like this, I'm happy to marry you. If you don't like this, it's fine. She said it's fine. They got married. Then they started arguing. It was over the mother-in-law and the father-in-law, etc., etc. She insisted that they move out. He moved out. Once he had moved out, the compromise began. It was a never-ending, because for him that was a non-negotiable before. Suddenly he gave up on that. What signal did he give to his wife? Everything else is negotiable. If it's non-negotiable to you, stick to it. If it's not a non-negotiable, then don't talk about it. Don't mention it as a non-negotiable. Be very clear, very precise. And if you don't know what it is, then sit down and think before you get married, or think even after marriage before you open your mouth. Ultimately in life, we have to make choices. I can't have everything. You can't have everything. And if you want to have everything, something will be destroyed in that process. So in that brother's case, his family got destroyed. His mother and the father, who are elderly, he had promised them that he will never leave them on their own, which he broke, and he left. He is also now suffering in his own marriage. In fact, he came back from his marriage to his parents' house, and his parents are very reluctant to have him back. He has lost both. Be very clear about where you're making the compromise. If you're going to make a compromise, never make it on non-negotiables. I hope I made that clear.
That's a very good point. It's really important, because I was just thinking, we had this example in the summer that we were going on a holiday that I didn't want to go on, because it's not my holiday type of, we had to go somewhere. And I said to the kid,
Scotland?
No, but when we went in July, camping is not my thing.
We didn't go camping.
Well, we went on a boat.
That's luxury.
No, it wasn't. It's not luxury. Anyway, the compromise I made is that I go because it's important for my family. Everybody loves it. Everybody loves camping and being outdoors. Outdoors is stuff I love, but I need bed.
You need luxury outdoors.
No. I need comfort.
I'll tell you what
I can't sleep on the
I'll tell you
floor.
what you need. You need a glump.
No.
with a luxury double bed
no,
with
no, no.
radiators underneath it.
No. I'm not a 5-star woman, but I'm also not a 1-star woman or a 2-star woman. So it's somewhere in between. And I said I'm happy to make the compromise, but I do need my own space and I need to go on a holiday by myself, which is what I did. And that was a compromise I was happy to make. It was a negotiable thing that I could make. I'm not holding the grudges, oh, you know, what a horrible thing it was. But if it was a non-negotiable that someone's asking me to give that up, I think I would be resentful for the rest of my life.
Of course you would. And that is the point we're making, brothers and sisters. So don't worry about compromises. Make compromises, but not on your non-negotiables.
And collaborate.
And collaborate more often, because collaborative way is the libas concept. The draped, integrated, pulled together, weaved together, cut to the shape. You befit one another in the most amazing way, like a draped material. I love this idea. That collaborative, that partnership, it's important. So I like 3 words today: compromise, collaborate, and create partnership. Shireen Alankar says, a castle can only have one king and queen. So living with in-laws can be tricky. Negotiation is a must. Yes, but this concept of a castle having a one queen or one king is a very un-Islamic concept. It's a very selfish concept. Every house is not a castle. That's an English idea. I understand it, but it doesn't come from an Islamic value. Every house is not a castle. Muslims are not entities of their own, living in their own space as if their own. Yes, we live in the UK, I understand, and this is the reality of the society. But the truth, my brothers and sisters, is that you and I, we all live as a Muslim. And if you think selfishness is going to overtake, so what does Allah say about our parents? Parents by obligation.
Before you go there, can I just ask a quick question? If that was the case, then why is Islam giving, it's almost an injunction on a man to provide for the wife, if there are more wives than one. Every single wife is supposed to be having her own space.
Yeah, but it also says at the same time, be absolutely sure that you are not neglecting your parents.
This is nothing to do with the parents. I'm talking about a king and a queen. If every house, you say it's not one king and one queen, then why is it that every woman is, if they are second wives or third wives, they are entitled to have their own homes, because that would be where they will be the queen.
I'm challenging.
I'm not talking about the parents.
Yeah. I'm challenging the concept of king and the queen. It comes with a baggage. I am myself. I am my absolute authority. No, you're not. Allah is the absolute authority. You're accountable to Allah. That concept of queen and king comes from a secular perspective. From an Islamic perspective, we're all bound by our same faith principle. Our goal is to become muttaqi, conscious of Allah. If I have Allah consciousness embedded in my relationship, this queen and king concept will not even be a problem. Yes, I understand that you want to be the homemaker of your home. You want to be.
I think I don't think she's talking about queen or queen in a traditional sense of, oh, this is not in a ruling sense. It's about everybody has the right for their own space.
Yeah, that's good, but that's not king and queen.
What is it then?
Hannah, everything has got a historic connotation, and that's the problem. If, for example, I say I'm waging a crusade, I'm actually using a word crusade, and it's got history to it. The king and the queen has a historic context, and I don't like that. Even in the Muslim context, it's not acceptable. So use the word, I need my own space, absolutely no problem. I need to be in charge of my own space, and no issues. But selfishness is not something that needs to be celebrated, and king and the queen brings that subordination, selfishness, absolute authority is my domain or nobody else's. Dictatorial ideals, that's not how Islam works. وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَ بَيْنَهُمْ. You consult and mutually work together in every affairs, Allah says in the Quran. So I don't want to dismiss the need for your space, that's essential, but I don't want to embrace the secular concept of king and the queen at the same time. Shireen Alankar has come back. She has made lots of good points today, mashallah. Our most active contributor today.
Thanks, Shireen.
Shireen, thank you. A castle can only have, we've already said that. Also choose your, what did she say here? Faisal says salamu alaikum. Fatima says salamu alaikum. I got that.
They've already read these.
Oh, I've read, okay, sorry. Shireen says very true, but I'm English and also I'm a Muslim. I would neglect my parents I would never neglect my parents or my husband's, God rest their soul. Fantastic, then don't. Shireen Alankar says, I am with Henrietta on this point. You can be. I may not be rich, but my home is my castle. I'm not selfish, but if second and third wives Okay, well, look, we're not even talking about second and the third wife.
No, but this is so the point I think is really important is that when it comes to someone's home, and I think what she's referring to, I totally didn't get the historical reference of king and queen. I don't think what she meant. I think she means is that the home that we are in, if it's shared with other women, for example, women in this case, parents, the organization becomes difficult.
So,
but
you compromise, you negotiate, you collaborate, you do something about it.
Okay, in an ideal world, this is how
But
it would work.
we are humans.
Yeah, some people are really comfortable doing that, living like that, being
What does
with
Islam
that.
say?
Wonderful.
What's the ideal in Islam?
Islam does not impose on us. It's a must to live with
No, but
parents.
I didn't say that. I never used the word live with the parents is a must. I said you're duty bound to look after your parents. I'm duty bound to look after mine. You're duty bound to look after yours. I'm duty bound to facilitate you looking after your parents. You're duty bound to facilitate me looking after my parents because we are married. It's not a one-way street. I don't expect you to look after my parents while I neglect your parents. That's un-Islamic. I'm not talking about that tradition. I'm talking about mutual respect. But leaving aside that, if you create a castle of your own, castle comes with a connotation. What's a castle? Fortified, guarded. There is moat all around or a canal around it with a protective gear. It's got soldiers. This is not the image of a home as far as I'm concerned. Allah uses a very different concept of a home. He calls it sakina, a home from where tranquility emanates, peace comes out. Let's not get too bogged down about the details. The issue here is, as long as your home is where you are comfortable and you are creating a space for everyone to have their own space and collaborative space, that's what we're talking about when we say compromise. Let's move on. We've got only 2 minutes left before we have to finish our program. Is there any last minute things you want to say, Hannah? And then inshallah we will move on.
So we started off how boring is your relationship, how to renew relationship, and what you do, and we got into a little bit of a tangle with a couple of things in here, which is always interesting. So let us know where you are with your relationship, wherever you need help. We are here. We at Barefoot Institute, what we want to do is provide more courses, more online programs. We are working on some of the things that we want to put out for you to enjoy. We will carry on doing these Saturday conversations. Sunday conversations, as many Sundays as we can. It is something that we do because we enjoy doing, and we believe that it's beneficial for some of you who attend. Please share the video with anyone who you feel would love to do that. And lastly, if you go on our website, you can see our services, you can see the books that we have written so far. You've got some resources that you can download for free of charge. And just reach out to us if you need any support. It's barefootinstitute.com.
Thank you very much. I've had varying responses. Nasima Khatun agrees with you, saying Queen and Castle is a very subjective one. Damien, on the other hand, says he agrees with me. Whatever you agree with us or not, agree with what Allah said and His Prophet Muhammad has said. Relationship is sakina. Simple. Create a harmonious, peaceful, safe, secure space for everyone to grow and enjoy Allah's ni'mah, blessings, and the life that He has given you as an amazing gift, and the nurturing space that you create for everyone to flourish. That's what Islam is all about. Inshallah, until next time, from myself and my good wife, what we want to say is have a fantastic renewal of your relationship. Sit with your husband and your wife and go and renew it. Don't be hesitant. Don't be worried and don't be afraid. If you need help with that, get in touch.
Don't go boring. Don't go stale.
Indeed.
Stay on course.
Make your marriage exciting. Get the fire going, but don't burn yourself, right? Manage it well. So if you want to buy our books, we have already talked about it. Inshallah, see you next Sunday, same time. Until then, from myself and to you, from you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.